Pondering God, Chapter 9, My Best Friend. My favorite biblical character, other than Jesus, is Peter. I see myself in him in so many ways: impetuous, stubborn, impulsive, loyal, and the ever-present foot and mouth disease are all qualities that both he and I possess. In the movie Forrest Gump, there's a scene that reminds me of Peter and a biblical story. Forrest is the captain of a shrimp boat, and one day, as he's navigating out of the bay, he notices a lone figure on one of the docks. The figure is of a man in a wheelchair. Forrest immediately recognizes his old friend Lieutenant Dan and turns his boat around. In his excitement, as he shouts out, "Lieutenant Dan!" he leaps off the moving boat and swims to the dock. There's a story in John chapter 21 that speaks to Peter's many qualities and is why the scene from Forrest Gump resonates with me. It was after the resurrection, and Jesus had already appeared to the disciples, including Thomas, who needed physical proof of the resurrected Christ. Peter and the boys had gone back to their fishing boats, and after a long night of fishing hadn't caught a thing, a description of some of my fishing trips. A man stood on the beach about 100 yards from the boat and said to them, from John 21 verses 5 and 6, "Children, you do not have any fish, do you?" They answered him, "No." And he said to them, "Cast the net on the right-hand side of the boat, and you will find a catch." They cast, therefore, and then they were not able to haul it in because of the great number of fish. It was then that John figured out who the man on the beach was, and he said to Peter, "It is the Lord." Immediately Peter, in his excitement over seeing the Lord, threw himself into the sea and swam to shore. The other disciples came to shore in a little boat, as most of us likely would. Impulsive, impetuous Peter, who, although he denied the Lord 3 times, later in Acts was warned by the authorities not to speak in the name of Jesus anymore, or face imprisonment or death. Peter and John, in response to their threat, said in Acts 4, verses 19 through 20, "Whether it is right in the sight of God to give heed to you rather than to God, you be the judge, for we cannot stop speaking what we have seen or heard." In addition to the other traits that I share with Peter, I hope I have the courage to speak out for the Lord, as Peter did, when I'm put under the gun.